Great. All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to call to order the South Coast BC Transportation Authority Police Service Designated Policing Unit, otherwise known as the Transit Police. So big name there. I'm going to ask Kurt Rattray to do a territorial acknowledgement. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. To start off, good day, everyone. Kurt Rattray, Javaste, Keltan. My name is Kurt Rattray, and I'm Keltan. I'm honored to have been given the name of Suna. I would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that today's ceremony is taking place on the unceded traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, lands that have been occupied and shared by the Semiahmoo, Kwantlen, Katzie, Kite, and Tsawwassen First Nations. We are grateful to live, work, and play on these lands today. I wish good energy for the board to do their work today. To help you do good work, I would like to introduce you to Montana Dixon and her brother Jared Powell, who will perform for you. Both youth are team leaders with our Blue Community Cadet program, and I'll let Montana introduce the song that they're going to play today. Madhu, thank you. All my relations.
Okay, so actually, Jared is going to introduce the song, but I am Montana Dixon, this is Jared Powell, and we are the Statistical Nation of Coast Salish.
So today we'll be singing the quality song given to the Blue Eagle family by Patrick Alec from the Penellicut Nation. The first and fourth verse has no drums to amplify our voices. Adio, adio. Adio, hey, adio, hey, adio, 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 hey, adio, hey, adio.
Thanks very much for that lovely start. So good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all. Thanks to everyone that's taking time out. Special welcome to City Councilor Rob Stutt. Thanks for being here. So the last time we held a meeting in public in community was back pre-pandemic, 2019. So our plan then was to do several meetings in community. So we're happy to be back on that plan and ready to meet with different municipalities in the region. So when we looked at different venues to hold this, we thought, why not south of the Fraser first? Biggest transit passenger growth post-pandemic, and also where we're doing a big expansion project. So we're happy to be here today, and the board and I look forward to today's session. So first item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Are there any items that we wish to pull from consent? Ms. Church?
We pull, and for those of you in the meeting here that don't have it, it's F, which is the board report, the components called statistical report. And then the other one would be I, the board report, the annual report to the community, also for information.
Great. Anything else from the board? All right, great. So can I get a motion to accept consent agenda without F and I, please? Carla, and second by Bill. Great, thank you. All right, let's talk about F, the statistical report.
So thank you to the chair, to everybody, thank you for coming. I was appointed to the board, I guess, about 3 years ago when we were in the midst of pandemic. So as our chair Marnie had just said, this is the first time that I've been part of a meeting that's taken place out in the community. Although all our meetings, we always have the public sessions. So anybody's invited to attend. Want to make sure that you know that we're available to do that. I also chair the governance committee, and I'll have a report about that a little bit later. Pulled this complaint statistical report, which is the Q1 for 2024, and I'm going to ask the chief if maybe she could speak to a couple of things, trend lines. We have a couple of charts that are listed in our package, and one of them is related to the public trust complaint per police officer. And then the other one is reportable injuries and so on, both trending down. So I'm just asking the chief if she wouldn't mind giving some context to why it is going this particular way and what are some of the reasons behind it.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Director Madden, for that question posed. So the report that we're speaking with deals with complaints statistical report. And if we look in Q1 of 2024, under the Police Act, there's currently 2 investigations related to transit police from the OPCC. One is a admissible complaint from the public, and second is an ordered investigation that was brought forward by the transit police to the OPCC. And I think what's interesting when you look at these numbers, this is Q1 2024, and the ratio of complaints per officer is 0.01%. And I want to draw that comparable into a 5-year average. So if we look over 5 years, the rate of public trust complaint files for the transit police is 0.07. And then if we break it down to those that are actually substantiated complaints, it again drops to that 0.01 per officer. So incredibly low ratio when you consider the number of interactions that our officers are out on the system doing every day. I also want to just pull out our service and policy. So from 2019 to Q1 of 2024, we've only had 3 service and policy complaints in total. And then finally, with reportable injuries. So we are required, if a person's under the care of a police officer and is taken to medical treatment to hospital, we do record and report on those incidents. And over a 5-year period, again, we draw back. So we had 102 reportable injuries and 5 misconduct investigations coming out of that, and 0 for the current period. So I share that and thank you sort of for bringing that forward, because I really think it speaks to, one, accountability, you know, for our officers in the process, and secondly, just the professionalism that they're out doing a very difficult job every day out on the system and serving the public.
Any questions?
The
The other
other
one, yeah.
the other one is called the annual report to the community. And again, I think it's important that we just don't quickly just jump through this, especially with the fact that we have a number of people in the room. There's a report that actually will go up on the website, I believe, at the end of the board meeting today. But in advance of that, it would be great maybe just to share again through the chief if possible. Some of the key issues, because one of the things that I'm noting in the material was the proactive work around mental health and interventions, the early success of the CSO deployment, the specialty team, the proactive work to ensure public safety and a visible deterrence on the system. So it all ties back to this feeling that we have around value for money spent and investment in the Metro Vancouver Transit Police. And I'm just wondering if the chief might be able to highlight just briefly some of the key items out of this from an operational perspective.
Absolutely. And yeah, really encourage you. The report is up on the website. There's also a summary kind of the year in review and a video. Encourage you to go into and view. So just pulling out maybe some of the higher level kind of highlights from the report. Some will get covered off in the chief officer report today, and those include about our CSO program. So what I'll say about that, we'll share more in a bit, but it's a program we're really excited about. And currently we are to the point that we will have 24 officers soon to be deployed on the system this summer. In terms of offenses, what we're seeing with violent crime, crimes against persons have dropped by 6%, and crimes against property down by 13%. And I think if you really contrast this with the increase of 20% in travelers across the system to 325.9 million passengers, it's really good to see those crime rates trending down. Mental health apprehensions, we have moved from 255 to 200. So that's a 22% decrease in the number of mental health apprehensions. And what we're seeing is there's a really good correlation if and when we are taking people to hospital, that 76% are actually being admitted for treatment in hospital to get the appropriate care that they require. We're very proud of as well our mental health liaison officer, Ben Hayward. He is out doing referrals as well to many of our community partners. And we've seen a 220% increase. And he's done 32 referrals. So we're moving people away from the criminal stream and into the appropriate supports in the system. So those are some of the highlights. We will touch on in the chief officer's report some of our specialty teams, the work that our crime suppression team and others are doing on the system. And what I'll highlight as well is the partnerships. So important for us with transit police, whether it be with our, through the 22 jurisdictions, working with our municipal police agencies, the RCMP, within the enterprise. We're working with Canada Line, SkyTrain attendants, transit security, and so many other partners, some of you here today within the community, with that overall goal of public safety first and foremost. So thank you.
Further comments, questions?
Just a question on the naloxone application. Could you maybe just tell us about how many, what's the trend, what's happening? Because I think it's really important that people understand that the frontline officers are there to assist.
So the naloxone, what we're seeing is there is an increase, 79 deployments on naloxone, so a 46% increase. And that's not just with our frontline officers. We also have community safety officers who are now in the system, as well as our CPC, or community police officers who are out there on the system and have the naloxone as well. We will note that in some instances, we are seeing that multiple kind of deployments are required, but really important, we have our officers with the naloxone kits available and using those when required on the system, and really saving lives in doing so.
All right, can I get a motion to accept? Marie? Great, all right, thank you very much. All right, so next item is the chief officer report. With you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you very much. And again, good morning to everyone. It's such a pleasure to see members of the community here. Similar to the chair's comments, it's been a long time since we've had the opportunity to be in community, and it's really nice to have so many of you represented here. So I'll start out with, and as we're getting our presentation just ready to go. And next slide, please, is just, I spoke about our community safety officer program. So for those that are not familiar, our community safety officers are sort of a second tier of policing out on the system. It is a 3-year pilot project that we're currently engaged with. And we've had 2 cohorts currently, and our 3rd cohort of 10 CSOs began their training in the classroom in April 2024. So our first cohorts of class 1 and 2, they're currently deployed out in the system. Hopefully you've encountered them perhaps, and I see some nods sort of along your journey. So they're out in our 4 patrol teams. and they're fully part of the transit police delivery model. What's interesting as well, so we will, again, as I indicated earlier, be up to our full 24 in terms of by the end of the summer for deployment. But we're seeing some of the CSO officers, so we've had 3 of those officers who've entered through the CSO program and then actually become regular members within transit police. So we're excited to see that kind of development grow and look forward to seeing more CSOs potentially move into regular officer positions within transit police. Next slide, please. Program we're particularly proud of, and Kurt Rattray, Constable, who started us off in such a good way with the welcome and opening this morning. And what I would like to just honor him and instrumental in the creation, along with others from Vancouver Police in this program. And so we just held, there's 2 locations in Surrey and Vancouver that we hold the Blue Eagle Cadet program. The graduation just occurred in Surrey last night. Vancouver is soon to come. And this program was established in 2021 and really focused on Indigenous urban youth aged 12 to 15, although everyone's encouraged to come and participate. So the program itself, it has an Indigenous learning component, and then it engages the youth in team building games or offsite adventures, followed by a meal together. The program, again, has been extremely successful. We're really proud of it, and we've had 215 youth graduate since the inception of this program, and more to come with the next 2. I'm now going to turn over to Deputy Anita Ferlin, who oversees our operations division, to provide an update.
Good morning, everyone. So over onto the left-hand side and on the screen, you'll see this is basically the Metro Vancouver Transit Police community service areas. So we break down basically Metro Vancouver into 6 service areas, and each of those are serviced by a hub office. So that's a location within that community service area where our members can deploy from. And just to give you the breadth of what we are doing here, it's 1,800 square kilometers that we're patrolling. There's 1 million passengers approximately per day that go on and off the transit system, 148 kilometers of heavy and light rail, 63 stations, SkyTrain and Canada Line, with Canada Line having 16 itself. And we go through 22 communities, including those that are policed by RCMP, and then our municipal partners of Delta, US, Vancouver, West Vancouver, and Port Moody. So really, it just shows, the amount of area that we cover, and that's why we are so happy to have our community safety officers to provide that enhanced visible presence on the system for us. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we're doing now, which might seem, wow, it's far in advance, but not really. As springtime comes and people are graduating, and I can say that because I'm going to my son's convocation tonight, we are looking to get in touch with schools anywhere from elementary right up to our colleges and universities to start assigning times where we can send out our community engagement team to provide presentations for those students, particularly new to either this area or to using transit, and be able to provide them some safety tips, how the transit system works, things like our texting number of 877777 and how to get a hold of us, as well as some of the other safety features that are found on our transit system. And this is really important because it helps build the relationship and really actually informs a lot of the students that are using transit that there's actually a Metro Vancouver Transit Police, so a specific police force that is there for them while they are using the transit system. So important for us to get out into those communities and build those relationships, and we're doing that now for the intake in September and October. Next slide, please. So major events, sadly, our Vancouver Canucks didn't make it further, but really that's one of the things that we work closely with all of our TransLink partners. So of course, our Coast Mountain Bus, Canada Line, SkyTrain, West Coast Express, C-Bus, as well as our jurisdictional police partners. Obviously, when there's an event, whether it be in one jurisdiction or another, a lot of the people get to those events via transit. So it's important for us to have enhanced visibility on the system and for those that are traveling to be able to get in touch with us. So this is one example for the Stanley Cup playoffs. We had patrol officers and community safety officers providing high visibility patrols, which means they've got the vests on, in around Stadium Station, and also working with Vancouver Police Department to ensure that we've got a good enhanced presence there. As well, we're engaged in lots of community events. Not only our community engagement officers, but many of us also attend events. As you can see, we were in attendance at both Vancouver and Surrey Visaki parades. And really excited that when we were at Surrey, we were able to actually have a tent up and we handed out over 6,000 pieces of swag, as we call it, from TransLink, and just made those connections with people. And that gives us an opportunity to, again, talk about the transit system and particular things like safety and give out our texting cards and some further information. Next slide, please. So another one of our key areas of focus is to listen to the public and what concerns them about the ridership in and around the transit system. So we have a number of specialty units within the transit police that are able to do a quick response or focus on any areas where there's concerns. So this is just one example, a Surrey Central deployment. We were receiving complaints from the public that just adjacent to the Surrey Central SkyTrain station, we had dangerous driving occurring regularly. Basically, people, just cruising the area, with modified vehicles, up and down, racing up and down. And in that, our concern is not just on the transit system; it's also ridership getting to that transit place and back and outside, and we want them to be safe during that entire event. So it was really important for us to take this seriously. So we went out with our patrol members and also our targeted mobile enforcement team. And over 4 evenings, we were able to have put out 91 violation tickets, 8 notice and orders, which means people have to basically fix their vehicles so that they're actually up to Motor Vehicle Act standards. And 4 impaired drivers were removed. Also, the impact of that is that our visibility is there. So hopefully that's a deterrent so that those people aren't coming back. And so we really encourage you to tell us about what's happening on the system. We will always go by the principles of people are the police and the police are the people. We need your eyes and ears out there to tell us, where areas of concerns are, and then we're better able to tailor our deployment model and our specialized teams to ensure that we're giving the appropriate time into the locations where we need to be. Next slide, please. And I'm going to now turn it over to Deputy Chief Officer Graham of our Administration Division.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to touch bases on some of the things that are done on the inside of the house. So recruiting, we attend a bunch of events throughout the year. In this last quarter, a couple of events that we attended was the Surrey Crime Prevention Society Safety Awards. Hopefully a lot of people in this room are somewhat familiar with them. It's all the fine folks out there in the bright green jackets that do a bunch of stuff for the city of Surrey. We have our own volunteer program outside of the waterfront. Some of our volunteers are also volunteers with Surrey, and the Surrey volunteers also help us with some transit security education. So we did attend that event, both in support of the volunteers as well as recruiting. About 95% of the volunteers within that program do have goals of being in law enforcement in the future. On top of that, we attended a job fair with Vancouver Police in the Vancouver area, focused on Indigenous men and women with the potential to get into law enforcement. And we also held a recruit session on June 5th, as you can see the poster up there. Next slide, please. Throughout the first half of this year, we've been doing some Indigenous experimental learning out at Kwantlen First Nations. That wraps up, I believe it was this week was our last session. At the conclusion of that, we'll have had 209 transit police employees that have participated in the experimental learning out at Kwantlen First Nations Cultural Center. We've had multiple good feedback. We've also had, this is a training program that we put together. A big thank you to Kurt Rattray, who opened up for us. He's done a lot of work on this training program as well as our training section. We've had it audited by people kind of throughout the province, looking to see what we're doing in this kind of innovative compared to what's being out there in other police departments. Next slide, please. And just a couple updates on a couple locations we have. We're supposed to begin renovations and we have a Bridgeport office out in Richmond at Bridgeport Station for deployment. That's being held up right now in some delays in permitting. We've met with the city of Richmond this week and we still have a few items to work through, but we do expect that we will start renovations on that site this year. Secondly, we're looking forward to opening up our first hub office in the Metrotown area. It's been a long time coming. We're just working our way through lease rates on that right now. Hope to have it secured this summer. We have drawn up initial plans for that one, which will provide space for a neighborhood police officer in and around the Metrotown area, as well as another potential spot that we can run a volunteer program. Next slide. Open it up for questions.
And perhaps just before we move to questions, I just want to highlight as well at Transit Police, we have a Chiefs Community Council. And we have a number of different representatives from the community that do sit on that. It's another example where it's really important for us to be able to hear firsthand from the community where their concerns are. And, you know, I highlight the recent project in Metrotown. It was a direct result of one of our members who provided information on the committee that we were able to work in partnership to address a crime and disorder issue around the Metrotown area. So I think it really speaks to those partnerships, relationships, and I think each one of you here has connected with individuals within Transit Police in some manner. And again, I just really want to, you know, again, indicate how much we value those relationships, the importance of it. I will also note around the room, in the back of the room, there are a number of other members of our senior leadership team and leadership team at Transit Police who are also committed to working together with community to address issues together.
Any questions?
I'm Adams J. Came from Options Research Society, newcomers employment program. My question is, how often do you run these sessions on here?
Yeah, so it fluctuates a little bit up and down, kind of as our needs kind of come and go. I would say on average, we're probably doing somewhere between 4 to 6 a year. For info sessions, we run info sessions specifically for recruit police officers. We run info sessions for our CSO program. And then we also run info sessions dedicated to folks that are already police officers and are looking to lateral over. That's stuff that we do in-house at our own department. Besides that, we go out to community events all the time. So we've been to Options before. We go to job fairs, we go to universities, we go to multiple different groups out there with the recruiting teams. Our community engagement teams are out there. So we do attend probably about 20 of those events a year on average.
Thank you.
What I'll say, it's very important for us as an organization to be representative of the communities that we serve. And you know, at Transit Police, we actually have officers that speak 28 different languages. And our percentage of diverse employees by rank is 37.4%. So, you know, it's something very important and we are very focused on. So when we look at those different recruiting, you know, drives that we're doing, we really want to make sure that we're getting into different communities to try to attract people who are representative.
On average per day, how many officers do you have deployed in the community total? Do you know?
Yeah, we have a number of different officers on the system.
Yeah.
And that includes sworn officers. We have our CSOs. We talked about our waterfront CPC, and then we have our specialty units. So there's a number from our, you know, on always deployed but are available. Our canine explosive detection dogs are out there, our crime suppression team. So I won't actually get into exact deployment numbers, but what I will say is we do have numerous resources out there on the system. And I think the important piece, I spoke earlier about that collaboration with TransLink as well. So we're not just working independently, we are working with other areas within the enterprise, transit security, and others, and our partners who are also in public safety to keep the system safe.
Questions? Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. So we work in Vancouver College, we are right on the Gateway Skyline Station. So there are officers there all the time.
I'm just asking a question. Are there officers at every SkyTrain station all the time, transit officers?
Yeah, at any given time, the deployment, and I think that Deputy Furlan spoke a little bit just in regards to, it is a very wide, area that we are covering. At any given time, our officers can be at various locations, throughout the system. So in some instances, you may see CSO presence there, and, or you may not, because they could be close by at another kind of location and or mode of transportation as well, because, we're not just limited to rail, where there's buses and sort of other enforcement. But the important thing is there are a lot of other safety features that are available in the event that there's, anything that should arise. The texting number that I think people are quite familiar with, the 877777, to provide information. So I hope that answers your question.
Because my concern is, I just want to let you know that's why we came here today, because we work there and we have so many students that we are a private college. Students come in, we have employees. There is so much nuisance at the SkyTrain station. There is people screaming, walking into the campuses. They just walk in. We don't know what to do. Like, I think half the time that's what we deal with. And we have to make sure that when I leave, the doors are locked so that the evening receptionist doesn't face it. But there is trouble. I'm sure you guys are doing your best. And like you said, stats that you were mentioning about the crime rate is going down. That may be true, but we face a lot of nuisance. So we just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about too is that perceptions of safety is really important. And what I would say, and again, I think it speaks to the value of this, we welcome to meet with you sort of outside of this and, have some of our officers come and discuss some of the concerns that you're seeing. There what we call SEPTED or different safety things that we can look at sort of around the area. And just to better understand the concerns you're facing. And Stephen Crosby, who's with our strategic manager, I'll let you respond as well.
Yeah, we spoke about our deployment map earlier on in the meeting. And so when you look at our 6 community service areas, we have officers deployed into all those community service areas throughout the day. So when you look at CSA 5, which is like the Surrey area, we'll absolutely have multiple officers deployed into that region. They may be, a gateway, then we'll be at Surrey Central. They'll be kind of responding to calls. They'll also be actioning intelligence, where we'll find out at a specific time of day, at a specific station or an entrance, there's issues arising. So they're deploying to that area at that specific time. But I think the important thing for us is ensuring that everyone who uses the transit system or is close to the transit system, they have that text number. Because of, I think, what you're speaking to, those kind of disorder issues, like we do respond to all those disorder issues. And when you text us, you get directly in contact with one of our dispatchers live. So I think that's a really important tool. And the more opportunities we have to get out in front of students and teachers and let them know about the text service, that just ensures that our people are where they need to be.
You guys know your job better. We, like you said, we are community. We can only just request that if you have more officers deployed. And SkyTrain stations, I personally feel, are a place where one officer should be there all the time. Because half of the time, the number of people, you said 1 million, or I don't know, some number you said, it's a huge number, transit used by the residents. I think you just need more people. The job's perfect. You're doing great. It's not that you aren't, but we are just requesting if there are more people employed here and we have somebody stationed there, and I'm sure we won't face that much of this.
Right. I think that probably speaks to the importance of that community safety officer program. Like those 24 community safety officers, those are all brand new positions that we just added as of late last year.
Yeah, I heard all of that. It's great, but I thought while I'm here, I might as well say it.
And the other piece I'll add is, a transit police were intelligence driven. So, looking at where we are, whether it's information coming from community or, whether a crime statistics or telling us that there's a trend. So this is important information, and we'll continue to collaborate with you on it. Thank you.
Like the trend you guys mentioned at the Surrey Central Station with the traffic, that because I live in the area as well, and I noticed that there were some issues there, and it's nice to hear that you were informed of that trend and that you attended to it. And so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. And again, the most important thing is the public, right? you're out on the system, and you see things that are going on. And so truly you're the eyes and ears as well for us. And so hearing that is fantastic to know, okay, maybe we need to spend some time in Gateway, or maybe that's somewhere that we can do one of our safety talks, especially for your new students coming in. That's exactly what we want and the feedback that we encourage from the community, because then we will, take steps and do what we can to kind of curb that behavior, especially when it is putting the traveling public at risk. So appreciate your comment.
But yes, attending this also tells us a lot of what you're doing, so yeah, it's satisfying. I'm glad I'm here, but I still want to let you know.
Oh, no, absolutely, yeah, thank you.
Because it's just that, when a person walks in, you don't know whether it's a student coming in for an info session, wanting to know more about the program, and our programs are always a continuous intake. So our doors are always open. So, that is where sometimes we meet these challenges.
Yeah.
I work at the Chuck Bailey Recreation Center. We're about a block away from the SkyTrain, so I'm just a little bit more curious around the radius outside of the SkyTrain station that your officers would kind of go to, right? Because we do have a couple of bus stops nearby. We obviously have our safety issues, and we're just trying to figure out how that ties in, or if it ties in with the transit police or not. So that's part of it.
Yeah, it's not like we say, okay, you've got to go 200 meters and then stop. Yeah, it's not like a push, a cart that stops. So obviously our focus as the transit police is in and around the transit systems. If there's a specific location like you're speaking to that might be in and around, but maybe a little bit further, then that might be something that we will talk to our jurisdictional police partners with. And then we may do a joint project. Certainly, especially if it's impacting, like you say, the bus stops in and around or one of the SkyTrain stations. So there is no concrete, okay, you can't leave this area, but certainly the focus is bus loops, bus stops, the SkyTrain, Canada Line stations, West Coast Express, C-Bus. All of those are our jurisdiction, and that's the focus where most of our time will be spent. But certainly our members are trained just like any other municipal police members. So if there's a crime occurring, nearby, certainly they'll respond to that. And if it's an ongoing issue, then we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive onto that, see where the impacts are. Is it people coming off of the transit system that are causing the problem? Then maybe that is our problem. If not, maybe we'll work with our jurisdictional police department and determine who should best take on that issue.
Just for context, around that. So in 2023, for example, we had a 2.9% increase from 2022, but 360 joint initiatives with jurisdictional police. So that intelligence sharing that I'm talking about is not just, it's going between agencies, and exactly what you're speaking about to address those concerns most appropriately.
And with the recent changes in the law, are your officers permitted to ask people who are using illicit drugs on property to leave the property? Is that something that you guys are okay to do?
Yes, now with the changes in the decriminalization, yes, we're now able to do that, and there's very now limited parameters on where people can use. You can still possess, but now the use of drugs has been limited in scope. And so we do have the ability, if people are using it in public, to ask them to stop and leave.
And in saying that, I work for a community organization that has that gives access to safe use sites. So maybe we could partner up with some of the officers in this local area, King George and Gateway, where they can inform those folks to head over to our location where they can use safely and away from the public.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Those are great questions. So we're going to move to public delegations, and I do understand there's a couple of people here. So maybe we'll start with Sunny. Oh, there you are. Okay, great.
I can actually share some of the findings that we have. So we actually, my name is Scott, I'm Sunny. So we both work at the youth program, Progressive Intercultural Community Services. Excuse me, we're trying to get the call. Yeah, so we were actually part of a program last year where we did a research project within the city of Vancouver. Our main primary focus was around youth, right, and how their sense of safety was threatened within the city, right? And of course, Vancouver is quite different from Surrey, right? A lot of these students actually do use public transit systems, right, to get to school. So some of the main key finding that we had was public transit actually scored the lowest in terms of safety for youth, followed by their city and the internet and social media, right? We do have some quotes that they provided as well, right? But regardless of that, like from what I've heard today, I do see the figures that you guys have brought forth, right? And it doesn't really align with what the youth thought is about safety concerning themselves, right, within the transit systems. More so what I see is there's a lack of understanding from the youth end from what's actually truly happening within the transit system, right? And I mean, it's kind of natural, right? I still am currently considered a youth. I'm 28 under the federal definition, but I do have thinning hair. I'm getting a little older. I do notice that the understanding I had in terms of youth trends and youth understanding is considerably changed, right? So the main thing I would like to basically bring up is maybe some sort of forum or maybe even a meeting or a committee with youth where we actually do decide to listen to what they are saying. Because quite often I do remember when I was younger in high school, a lot of times it was adults telling us, hey, look, this is what's happening, rather than what are you guys doing, right? And a lot of times when our opinions were shared, they were kind of taken in as it's just a kid saying something, right? So I do have some sheets I'd love to pass around to everyone, right? I don't know if I should do it now or maybe at the end, right? But we have also some quotes of what they have said as well. But the main thing was they kind of felt more threatened by like adult figures, right, that are behaving violently and like basically unpredictably.
And this happened mostly on transit as well, right? So like people are falling down. That's what these mostly like. Yeah, there were some with that in transit.
I'm not quite, like, we haven't done the same project here in Surrey. I'm not quite sure if that's gonna be the same result here because like within Surrey, like I grew up here my whole life. Like I walked to school, right? So I didn't really even use a bus till I was maybe 16 years old to go to PN. Like there's not too much with transit, maybe within the general area, maybe outside of maybe Surrey Central, right? Because there's a SkyTrain station here, right? But I have noticed a little bit more people gathering and like the bus routes, like Newton Exchange, for example, right? But it's primarily in Vancouver that these youth are speaking out of, right? And there's a lot of like people kind of feeling unsafe, right? By maybe vagrants kind of trying to follow them off like transit property, right?
Maybe like exposure,
That's great. Yeah, and I think we'd be interested, the board would certainly be interested in your report, your full report. So if you wanted to forward that after, that would be great. Yeah, maybe through Stephen.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And just maybe a few additional comments on that. So thank you for sharing that. And I think those, that it goes back to that perceptions of safety that we talked about. So really welcome the report, the findings, as well as that opportunity for collaboration, to look, even I referenced earlier the Transit Police Chiefs Community Council, potentially having you come and maybe share some of the findings and then, work to have some type of, town hall forum with your support and or others' assistance to really hear from the youth what their experience is really happening on and around the system, because that's only going to make, our ability to respond and also support better. So thank you for that.
I think in the future, we are going to see more youth starting to use even transit within Surrey and other communities, right? So I guess what we kind of found in Vancouver is most likely to happen in further communities down the line. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We also had from Vancouver Career College. Did you have anything additional you wanted to state, or?
What he's saying, that's what we experience.
Sure.
People smoking a whole time just right outside my office.
Right.
And they walk in and they just come and sit at our reception. We don't know what to do. We do all our own security, but like I said, even if just you have one officer standing there, that kind of puts the fear in people that, oh, we can't do anything wrong because there is somebody here who's going to ask us about our actions, or we are responsible to answer. They don't answer, they just keep sitting and that's it. Not much, but it's, the work environment is not very safe at the gateway station. So we have a lot of employees who don't want to work in the evenings. We have problems hiring people in the evening. So we were thinking we'll have a male receptionist instead of a female, just like you said, because they don't feel safe.
It's just that corridor passage in front of our campus, right? Like a small walkway. We see people
Coming
using
out of
drugs.
Yeah.
And we will have officers come out and meet with you and see on site directly, so, yeah.
Just a question on the youth piece that you just talked about. You did a survey. From what I heard.
So it was,
Comments?
This was basically like a report on how youth felt, how safe they actually felt within their communities within Vancouver specifically. Right.
My question is just, when you hear that, was there any difference between men and women in the responses, the concerns that were raised? Were they broken out by public safety or issues that we should be aware of from the comments that came of the material that you had?
Yeah, so well, basically the main thing is females kind of felt more threatened that they're being kind of pursued by adults, right? Followed around. Whereas males were kind of more, they were seeing that they were getting into like maybe more physical interactions, right? Maybe even potential fights that are happening, right? There was like an unlikely situation where we did have a lot more females coming out and speaking about this compared to the males. Males, they kind of more focused upon the issues that they're facing within their school, like how there's organized like crime, right? Potential gang violence, poaching inside the schools as well, right? Whereas the females' primary concern was with walking around in public, trying to get home, maybe using public transit to get home, right? And where they felt kind of threatened by basically vagrants, right? That might have been using, right? And a lot of the times, I think there is a misconception as well within the youth of understanding what a vagrant is, right? Anyone that's smoking is not really a vagrant, right? It doesn't mean having a cigarette like a designated spot means you're a vagrant, but it was a little bit of lack of understanding from the youth then. And also there was definitely a threat present there, right? For them to kind of feel that way, right?
I think one of the things that, and maybe Chief, you could speak to it too, is certainly as a board, one of the pillars that we have is around sexual assault issues that would be on the transit system. And it's a key issue that we get reports on a regular basis. And through the chief, maybe just, I know it's a priority and maybe you can speak to that. I have 3 daughters, so I'm very concerned as well about those types of issues. Everyone should feel safe, whether you're, no matter the gender. But a particular interest as a father, it concerns me at times that it's not always at night and it's in different locations. It could be on C-bus, it could be on the transit system, on bus systems. But Chief, could you just maybe address that, because it is a priority for this board and for you, correct?
Yeah, no, definitely. So looking at campaigns, for example, in relation to sexual offenses on the transit system. So when we go back to what we're talking about, engaging youth. So our prior campaign, we utilized youth. We're looking at engaging with schools in our next campaign because we recognize that education piece, being informed of kind of what's occurring on the system, will be really, really important. So, with any type of sexual offense that is happening on the system, from our perspective, one is too many. So we continue, to work to, provide education around the different resources available to report, encouraging people to report, but also understanding that entering in the criminal justice system isn't always the best sort of decision for some victims or survivors. So therefore, ensuring that we are also getting supports for people who may be victimized as a result. So, but high presence, focus towards the reduction of that of sexual offenses continues to be a priority.
Great. Anybody else have any comments? Anything you'd like to
Just one more.
share?
Like, for instance, the issue that's happening at Gateway, there is a safe consumption site about 300 meters away from there, and I don't know if your officers know that, but like, if they were ever to come and confront someone like, hey, there is a place for you to go, it's just 300 meters away, and maybe you have the resources, or inform the officers of the resources by each station, like around this area where we can direct people to. I think that would be really beneficial.
Yeah, and thank you. I did another, important comment. So we actually did about a year ago, we did a scan of all the different sort of community focused agencies, resources in and around the transit system. And I think it's a good, opportunity to revisit that kind of with the year passing now to see if there's new, locations that we should be including and or create awareness on. So thank you.
The more one more thing goes, I think it is kind of clear regarding where you're talking about transit police. Or also another key finding that we did have was police officers were identified as only likely to be contacted in severe situations. Right? So there is a lack of disconnect where people are actually contacting transit police and actually informing them like, hey, look, I am being followed, or there is X, Y, and Z happening here. So without just giving all the other information, that's the filter. And there is also a lack where they are contacting actual authority figures, right? Our findings actually said that they are more likely to tell a teacher or a counselor, right? So, or like, of course, the parents, right? That should be the first thing a child does, right? But police officers are only in really witnessing like, violent situations in their city, right? That's where they're really reaching out to the police officers.
That underreporting, it's always a concern in programs like the Blue Eagle program that I spoke about earlier, and really engaging youth early on. Exposure to police, I think, is really important.
Great. Thanks for all your comments and questions. So we do have a couple of business items we need to move through here for the board. So next item up is a service complaint. And we're gonna move that over to Oscar to give us an update on that.
So I just briefly want to update the board where the complaint is. We had a meeting with the complainant. To discuss, 3 weeks ago, it was a very positive meeting, productive. There was a positive exchange of views. And following that meeting, the complainant subsequently sent an email with a proposed resolution, which involves making some changes to the language on our website, and also some internal communications changes that we can make. And we feel that we can take some steps to definitely address concerns by making some of those changes. We plan to go back to the complainant and work with him to make sure that we see what those changes are, and hopefully address his concerns. The next step would be under the Police Act that the board would send a report with the complaint summarized and the actions taken to the complainant, and also to the complainant's commissioner and the province to demonstrate that we followed the process. The complainant would have an opportunity to have that reviewed if he chose to do so, but we hope that with the communication and the meeting with the complainant to address his concerns, that he will be satisfied with the action. So that report would be going to the board in September.
Okay, great. Great. And just for a bit of context, it was a complaint about our jurisdiction, what our actual limits of our jurisdiction is. So the board has been had oversight on this process the entire time as well. And we're very comfortable with how we've addressed it and the steps going forward. So we'll hear about the full report in September. Thanks for that, Oscar. Appreciate all the hard work on that. Any questions from the board on that one? Are we good on that? Okay. All right, so next item up is vice chair. So it is time to select a vice chair, and Graciously, Carla has decided to be reappointed as vice chair. So we do have that's accurate, right? Carla? Yes.
Marty does all the work anyway.
So I do have a recommendation here that the South Coast BC Transportation Authority Police Service Designated Policing Unit Board select Carla Hotel as vice chair for term to be set by Lieutenant Governor and Council.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? You're back, Carla. Thank you.
Just in case.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move to our committee reports now. So first up is Bill from the Finance Committee.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Chan. I'm the Finance Committee Chair, and I also echo Margaret's comment that certainly thank you so much for making your time and effort to be with us today. Just overall, the police board is responsible for the governance of the transit police. The regular reporting to the police board and the view of the financial operation is a key element to exercise this responsibility and for public accountability. The board minutes and the reports that's on our package. It is on the TransLink website too, under the board minutes and reports. You can get that package. But I just want to spend maybe a few minutes on three key items on the report. First of all, I just want to say that the members of the committee is myself. I have Murray Dinwiddie on my far left and George Mannon on my right, and we're the committee. Part of the Finance Committee. Just on the finance report for Q1, again, this document is in the public website. On Q1, the results are pretty well ahead of budget. We're at $12.6 million versus a budget of 13.2. That's a favorable variance of about $500,000. And the key amount of that is because the original budget that was set to hire a number of police officers and community service officers were running a little behind in the recruiting. And so there's really just a timing gap. We do feel that by the end of the year, we'll meet the budget, which is the forecast budget of $53.2 million. And we'll be just right on the budget on that. But overall, as you know, that these budgets are done at a period of time and things have changed and there's a forecast. We do feel that we will break even. There's a bit of a savings on the labor of about $200,000 again, where we budgeted to do the hires earlier, and that's not going to come on until a little later. Just the challenges of recruiting and some of the new items that are coming up is that, as Deputy Graham mentioned, on the lease on the Burnaby site. So that's an event that was unbudgeted for, and then also additional amount on professional fees regarding the call center. So the two of those will net out, and so that's on the finance report. Just another item on, as part of the finance committee, we continue to work on our risk registry that impacts the finances. So we continue to work with the management on that and to look at how we mitigate the risk on that. And we're doing some work on this additional work on our call center and all of that. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions for them? Sounds good. All right, so over to George, who heads up the governance committee.
Thank you. First of all, again, thanks for spending time with us today. We know you've got a busy schedule. It's really nice to be able to be out and see you folks. And our commitment as a board, especially coming out of COVID, it was a challenging time, obviously, and we're going to continue to be able to focus on being involved in the community as a board. And we certainly know our senior leadership team is very active that way with the Chiefs Community Council and all the initiatives that have been talked about. Our focus on the governance committee, though, has been on best practice in modern governance and a review of the policies and procedures of transit police. Our focus is broad, as we are the civilian oversight group. So our process is really suggesting that we work very much collaboratively and collegially with the chief, with the senior leadership team, both sworn members and civilian staff, We also take a lead in ensuring the board's commitment to reconciliation is front and center. It's more than just words. We are actively involved, as was pointed out there, with the activities we did among First Nation, the training that we've done, and to be engaged in that. The governance committee also has been leading the way for board meetings in the community, as we said, and we will continue to advance our public affairs initiatives to be able to report on different aspects. We've got a website through Stephen and his team. This is being live streamed today. There's always information with reports and so on. Contact, we encourage you to go to the Transit Police website. Corporately, we review the broad corporate risks of the organization and do that on a regular basis as the Civilian Oversight Group. We're actively engaged in the updates to the BC Police Act and the committee. We also work with police services in Victoria to ensure we're creating training for the board members so that all of us are up to date on, again, the best practices and an effective police board and how it operates, and the renewal process for civilian boards. So if anybody in the room is interested in joining a municipal police board or even consider transit police, encourage you to go to the provincial website. There's a group called Board Resourcing Office. You can go on there and you can look at not just police, but a variety of different crown corporations, agencies, and so on that are looking for well-qualified individuals to add to those boards as civilians. Take a look, just take a few minutes. It's great. We all commit time and effort into this, and we're here because we want to make a better community. And we certainly appreciate your involvement and hope that that will be something that you'll consider too in your own municipality. Lots of changes taking place. And as a result, we know that if you're interested, it's the Board Resourcing Office of the provincial government. Thanks.
Yes. We encourage anybody that's active in your community, please, get involved in some board work. So we do have a few minutes. Is there any other comments, questions, anything anyone would like to bring up? Good. All right. Well, before we close out, I did want to recognize Anita, Deputy Chief Ferlin. She is retiring next month. So she spent the last 27 years in policing and the last 4 with us at Transit Police. And we're certainly going to miss her. And the board has really enjoyed working with her. So we wanted to wish you all the best. We're a little bit jealous. We wish you all the best and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
And also thank you to Jeff Busby for being here as well. He's from Translink and works with us as well. So thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to close out this meeting. Our next regular meeting is September 20th, 2024. Thank you all for being here. It was great that you spent some time with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah.